I hear the call of the stars.
G'day everyone, Duckville here. Welcome to game number 2 between Huck and MVP Dongray-gu. Down here in the bottom right hand side of Shakura's Plateau is Dongray-gu. He's going to be spawning here again in the sexy blue. Meanwhile, up to the top left hand side is going to be Liquid Huck. He is here in the red. So previous game we did see Huck just sort of going for some very sentry heavy play at the start, perhaps looking to do some sort of force field attack at some sort of timing, but unfortunately lost a lot of the sentries due to Zergling counterattacks, and then in fact has lost a few when he went to actually attack Dongray-gu's base just due to the pure number of lings that were out on the map. And we obviously saw that after that he suffered a few setbacks and then just was not in the rest of the game. So Dongray-gu probably wanting to capitalize on that. This is of course a best of 3 series, so we will be seeing if Dongray-gu can clean up and take a 2-0 victory here, or if Huck can come back and perhaps take it to the 3rd game. But Dongray-gu, of course, just a fantastic Korean player. We have heard a lot about him in the Korean scene, probably for the past few months actually. He'd actually been doing just getting a lot of word out about how good this kid was, and then finally seeing it here at MLG in these matches, at some of the other matches he played in, and of course in GSTL and GSL itself. So he's finally, you could say he's almost come of age here. Hasn't done any big victories just yet. Perhaps we'll do some winning here at MLG Anaheim 2011, but we'll see if that comes into fruition. But here comes that annoying Huck probe, just jumping in here, doing some attempting to do some mining on that mineral patch here. Obviously the goal, if you're not aware of how this works, is to put your probe or drone or SCV, however you want to do it, on the get it to mine here against an opponent's mineral patch, and then what that does is it causes, as we saw, this drone just shifted away from that mineral patch, and now no one is actually mining that. And this is actually, it's a very clever tactic in a couple of ways, because this is actually one of the closer mineral patches, so that actually negates some of the time that Dongray-gu will be mining there. Just a slight fractional amount, but it is enough for pro gamers. So it is something to do once you are getting up into the high echelons of StarCraft 2. Now, that probe just having a few more shots at the drones. Meanwhile, back at Huck's base, has a forge going up here. The Nexus went down. It looks as if, yeah, the Nexus went down right before the forge did, but the forge will be up in time, of course, to create a cannon. Probably looking to put the cannon round about here, so it is protected by a couple of pylons and, of course, the rest of this wall. And then Huck will probably see if he is going to fully wall off. You can put a cybernetics core down here, or perhaps you don't have to fully wall off, but you can put the cyber up here as well, and it leaves a tiny little gap for any units to come through with. Now, he has not grabbed his gas just yet, of course. He's still got to wait just a tiny bit more time before he can get the gas done. He is going to put a gate down to make sure this is fully walled off, just because the cannon was slightly later than it normally would have been, of course, to be very safe in this type of expansion as a Protoss. You actually generally will get the forge first, and then from depending on how safe you want to be, you can actually get the cannon straight after that forge is done, and the Nexus can come after. But generally a lot of players will actually get the Nexus before forge nowadays, because there are ways, as we saw here from Huck, to actually make sure that any sorts of early lings are blocked out. Speaking of early lings, only a couple of them on the map just at the moment here. Ling speed is about to complete, so we will have some very good map vision and map dominance here from Dongray-gu. Speaking of vision, look at this. He does have the Overlord inside the natural expansion, spotting what has been built here, along with these lings, just poking up the ramp there, taking a shot from the cannon, but they have seen that it is fully walled off, and there is no point trying to bust through that, because you will never get through with 2 lings. But there are 2 other lings just here at the Zelnaga watchtowers. They are covering this, giving him a lot of vision, making sure that he can see if any sorts of proxy pylons have been put down through the middle of the map or to the sides, of course, and that gives him a lot of reason to be safe and produce a lot of drones. And as we can see here, he has just transferred across a lot of drones to this natural expansion and has just built up another 6 drones, currently sitting there on 29 drones in total. He's still keeping up with Huck at the moment, who, of course, with that extra Nexus, you get the double probe production. Got to get that out with the triple P there. And then, of course, you also get the extra chrono boost, which you can put down on the Nexus and then create those probes faster. So in a lot of cases, for this early segment of the game, you do see Protoss actually staying quite a bit ahead of where their Zerg counterparts are in this sort of structured expansion. So now is the time when Dongregu will probably catch up now that Huck has put down these 4 gates here, heading to a total of 5. He does have a 1 sentry out, I believe it was, in total. There is another on the way. Yeah, there's only 1 sentry out at the moment. He's going to have this second one in just a second. The warp gate tech will be done shortly as well. In fact, there's going to be beautifully timed for those gates to be prepared as well, and he's probably going to look to do some sort of harassment if he can with some sentries and perhaps some zealots as well, or perhaps he will just switch straight into stalkers, as we did see in the previous game. But Dongregu, meanwhile, has taken his 3rd base up here at this position, just sort of that 2 o'clock position, and is just really powering away at these drones. Is now getting some defenses up, has a spy crawler being built down here at the bottom of the ramp. A little bit of an interesting position there, quite exposed, but of course with all of this creep now starting to spread out for Dongregu, he will be able to have some really good map vision. And speaking of vision, he does see this attack coming here from Huck. 4 sentries and a couple of zealots going to cause a little bit of trouble. Never going to win the game for you, of course, unless your opponent does something incredibly crazy, like doesn't build anything at all. But he will be able to just push out, takes out the Zergling sitting there at the Zelnaga Watchtower, and it will just have a little bit more time to set up his next phase of his plan. And as we can see here, it looks as if going to take out that forge. He's rebuilding the forge. No, he's not. He's not rebuilding the forge just yet, but he is getting hallucination at this cybernetics core, which means that Huck will be able to use a sentry, of course, to create a hallucination, probably a phoenix, and then we'll be able to actually send that across to scout out what Dongregu is up to, because of course Dongregu has protected himself for the moment with those lings out on the map, controls if any probes get inside, and as of yet Huck does still not know actually that there is that 3rd base. We'll probably assume that it is there, but now he is going to head across the map and perhaps going to try and find out what is there. Sees that the creep is now spread across the map here, but an imminent counter-attack is coming here from Dongregu. He is trying to send these lings in. There are 3 sentries and a couple of stalkers there ready to defend, and they will do a good job of that, just trying to push these lings away, making sure they don't get too far out in the open there. But the probes actually out in the open here. It looks as if Huck is wanting to expand here to this 3rd base. Will take out one of the probes that were there. Does see the pylon going down. Takes out the secondary probe that was there as well. And that is going to be a small timing window for Dongregu to just try and spot what Huck is up to. And then speaking of what he's up to, we got these Phoenix just floating across now, checking out whether a 4th base is going to be taken up to the side. Expansion up here is just going to see, perhaps he's not going up to check the 4th, but he is going to see the 3rd now, and we'll see that the Queen is there. There are a lot of drones here, of course, as well, and we'll see that the Dongregu has done a fantastic job just getting his tech up. And we'll see, of course, the Hydra Den as well. Now, this is going to signal a bit of a change, I would assume, for Huck's plan. He normally doesn't actually like to get Colossus, so it's actually one of his little pet hates, from what I remember, is that he actually doesn't like Colossus at all. Tries to not get them when he can, and goes for things like Templar and Blinkstalkers a little bit more. But of course, when you are facing what I'm assuming is going to be Roach Hydra army from Dongregu, especially someone of Dongregu's caliber, you are going to need those Colossus, and we'll see if he does get them up. There is a Twilight Council actually going up here for Huck. In fact, it's actually inside the main base, and an Overseer trying to spot what he can, getting taken out by those forces, and we'll see if Huck is going to switch into that Colossus tech. He does have, as we said, that Twilight Council, so I could be completely wrong, and we may see Templar there, but a lot of probes just transferring across to the expansion there. Well, in fact, where were they? I thought they were. No, it was a lot of units actually moving down to the top Zelnaga Watchtower. We've got a lot of Stalkers in this mix, along with a few sentries as well to help out, utilizing their force fields as well to block out all sorts of units here. And he is trying to push across here, trying to capture some of those units behind those force fields. Unsuccessful this time, unfortunately losing a few of those force fields there in that attempt, but he will be able to start using up that third base now. +2 weapons, no, +1 is now done. He does have a robotics facility on the way as well, and we'll be able to get the Colossus out in short time, robotic space, sorry, in short time, and we'll be able to start cranking out those Colossus. I'm assuming he is going to go for, probably going to look to get around about 2 to 3 Colossus, depending on the numbers of Hydras that he can see from Dongregu. But now Dongregu trying to push into the third base here. This is one thing I really like about taking this third base here instead of the one down to the opposite side, is that this is actually really nice to defend here. Put down a couple of cannons and a couple of pylons to make sure you've got some redundancy, and this stays alive quite a lot. And then one thing which you can also do, once you have the Colossus, chuck them up here on the ridge. Once they've got extended thermal lance, they cover this sort of area in with no trouble at all. and that gives you a really nice advantage. So that's one big thing about taking this particular base, which I really like that Huck has done in this particular case. Look at this force here in the middle from Dongregu. He's got Overlords all over the place. He's got Roach Hydra in the mix there. Trying to capture some of those units again is Huck. Now seeing if he can grab some more. Unfortunately, just slightly in front of where those units were. And now he's going to have to block himself out for the time being. We do have some Banelings actually being created here from Dongregu, so we will be able to take out some of these units if they get stuck in a bind, but unfortunately there's no bind here for Dongregu. Just trying to push through with a lot of those roaches there. The Overlords now floating across as well. That cloud of Overlords now just floating through. They interestingly don't actually have any Banelings in them because the research is not done yet. And now Dongregu actually losing a lot of those roaches that he had committed to that attack. And now with a Colossus out, this is going to get quite interesting for Dongregu. If he does decide to push, this force in the middle is still trying to evaluate where it can and can't go, and there is an observer which is going to try and perhaps see if he can pick off some of those stray units which may be sitting out at the towers. But now, speaking of stray units, those Stalkers going to have to be really careful there, but they do pull back just a bit. Let's have a look at what the tech is up to here for Huck. He's got +2 to weapons on the way. Another Colossus +1 in the queue is on the way. Blink just about done. A couple more gates coming through now as well. And just going to beef up that army quite a lot with those Colossus. And we do see Dongregu, still no speed on his Banelings. Probably doesn't need it just at the moment because he's probably looking to drop these, I would assume, just like in Game 1. But we'll see if he is going to go for some different sort of tech. A macro hatch being built inside the main base here. And still, no actual, none of those higher tech units just at the moment here. An attack is coming here from Huck. It looks as if he does have a whole heap of Stalkers along with his Colossus. Will be able to do a lot of damage against this Roach Hydra force. We'll see what Dongregu has left up his sleeve to try and counteract this mix. The Colossus getting a little bit gung-ho there, just trying to push through. But now the Colossus will fall back. They're jumping up on that ridge there. It looks as if this is quite an interesting scenario. MVP Dongregu is now pushing through the middle. Meanwhile, Huck is now coming around the back side, and he may be able to lock out the forces of Dongregu with some force field. But we do see an attack now commencing here from both players. Overlords dropping those Banelings, attempting to drop them at least on top of those Stalkers, but the Stalkers blinking out of trouble with no worries at all. But now some of the Stalkers have been destroyed there by those Banelings, and now the Roach Hydra mix is quite powerful considering that the Colossi have been destroyed. These Stalkers are going to have to blink out of trouble now. A lot of them on the red health there, as you can see. A lot of these guys in big trouble. But now Dongregu is going to have to fall back. There are just so many Stalkers here, and if he loses a lot of these Overlords, that could put this game in an interesting spot. Dongregu now actually in the red for his supply. Does have a couple of Overlords being built just at the moment here, but he really needs to be careful with how he commits to this battle, because if he loses too many more of these Overlords, he's going to be in a bit of trouble. And then if he loses too many of these Roaches as well, this could get very interesting there for him. Huck, meanwhile, taking this fourth base down here at the sort of inner expansion, taking this one again is going to be really good because he can just block off this point here and then make sure he's keeping that out of trouble with a lot of cannons. So we'll see if Huck is going to continue that sort of trend there, using a few cannons at the expansion. I would assume he is. +1 to air weapons now done for Dongregu. Very interesting to see, considering he actually has no air units at the moment. Only has this, oh, he does have the Corruptors, of course, which makes them do a little bit more damage against those Colossi, makes them take them out a bit quicker. And we'll see if he is going to switch into the Hive tech. There is an infestation pit now done. There's no Hive being morphed just yet, but he is getting another hatchery down here at this inner expansion here. If he can get this one up, grab a couple more gas, he may be able to put some pressure on Huck, and we'll see if that happens now that he is starting to push through. We do have those Overlords again at the back there, doing that Mighty Ducks formation. You can hear them quacking in the mix there, but these probes getting snapped in half by those Roaches. But 3 Colossi are now out. There are only those few Corruptors, and now some force fields going down, blocking out the Roaches. This could be the end of Dongregu's mix, because he is now inside the half of Huck's map. Huck's half of the map, I should say. And now with all of these units going down to cannons, Stalkers, and those Colossi, this could be it. Now we will probably see if Huck is going to push, try and take advantage of this situation here. Look at all of that mix now striding across the map there. All of these Stalkers, these Colossus now just pushing through. We'll see if Dongregu is prepared for this. He still has a few more units being constructed here. 7 Corruptors, I believe that was, just being built now. A couple of Infestors in the mix here. We do have 1 Fungal Growth going down. Not enough, not capturing enough of those Stalkers, and now blinking ahead. Offensive Blinks doing a great job there for Huck. is going to be able to take out some of these units. The Corruptors will probably take out this last Colossus, and indeed it does, but there are just so many Stalkers left over, and as anyone who has watched GSL will know, Huck has just some amazing blink skills, and he probably will be able to take out this base, if not Dongregu in force on this whole map. And in fact, there is the GG from Dongregu, taken out by this very heavy mixture there, beautiful mix there from Huck, controlling those Colossus well, keeping them alive to take out some of those lower tier units for Dongregu, and then just using those Blink Stalkers to maximum effect with their +3 to weapons. So they have just chewed through the rest of the units here. Losing this 5th base as well would have been a lot of trouble for Dongregu. So we will go into game number 3 between Dongregu and Liquid Huck here at MLG Anaheim 2011. Cheers.